Okay, there's two labs that this first part that's going to be used, that we're going to use this for. And what I'm doing now is standardization of sodium hydroxide solution. This will be used for first experiment. It's called determination of the molecular weight of an acid. And then there will be a very similar experiment, which will be called the determination of the molecular weight and the pKa of an acid. So both of them use this first step, which I'm going to make up a standard sodium hydroxide. So I have 50% sodium hydroxide, and I want to dilute that to about 0.1. And so what I'm going to do is, this is, again, I did this with the vinegar lab. So I'll basically do the same thing as I did with that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out, and it's okay to be abouts here. I'm going to measure out about 5 mils of the sodium hydroxide, 50%. Okay, I just don't want to get, I want to get close to 5, but I don't have to get exactly 5. Okay, so then we can record it, but it doesn't really matter. So it's 5.20. Then I'll set that aside. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 500 mils of deionized water with it. So I have deionized water, and I'm going to pour this big beaker here. And again, I don't have to get exactly 500. So that's good. So it's right around 500 on this beaker. Okay, now what I'm going to do is combine the two into this guy here. Okay, I'll set the beaker aside, and now I'm going to add the sodium hydroxide. Okay. Okay, mix them together. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is add it to my burette. Okay, so I'm going to add it to my burette, rinse out my burette with it first, and then fill it up to close to 50, okay? 0. Let's see how well you can see me doing this. Okay, so I'll stand back here and then do it. All right. So I have the burette. I got to make sure it's closed off, and then I'm going to add my sodium hydroxide. Okay. All right. This first step is just a rinse. So I just gently roll it on its side, coat it, then empty out. And make sure that I get a good flow of the solution. Previous experiment I didn't have that. I guess it was in that vinegar lab. Okay, so This time I'm gonna add the sodium hydroxide, so it's to amount that. Okay, stop there. Initial value is, okay, initial value, it's hard to see here, but I'll tell you it's, okay, so this measures to tenth, so you can go to hundredths, so it's .50. Okay, so let's set that like that. Okay, next thing is I want to measure out between 4 and 5 grams of my acid, 0.4 and 0.5 grams of my acid. Okay, and I'll do that 3 times. So I'm going to do it on my scale. The scapula. So I'll be using this here, this is called scapula. All right, and okay. Make sure my scale is plugged in. All right, so here's my first aeromotor flask, and I gotta let it warm up a little bit. 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so I want to make sure I subtract the mass of the scale. So I'm gonna add KHP, and I need to get between 0.4 and 0.5. I don't have to get exactly that. There's 0.2. Tiny bit more. All right, for number 1, record its mass, 0.40. All right, set that over here. I'm gonna label that number 1. Okay, number 2, same thing, 0. Somewhere, but you don't have to get the same amount, just somewhere between 0.4 and 0.5. Make sure you record these numbers. Number 2 is 0.441. Okay. Okay, third one, same. and the last one is 0.44 grams. Okay, number 3. Okay, next thing to do is we're going to titrate it. So start out with number 1. And oh yeah, you need to add water to it. So I'm gonna add about 50 mils of water to each one. Okay, I don't need to get exact. Okay, I'm doing it to the 50 mark, and that's for all 3 of them. It's not going to be exactly 50, doesn't matter, because it'll kind of cancel out. Okay. Alright, next thing is stir it up. Alright, so I put stir bar in. Get stir bar going, spinning. Wait a minute or so. I don't see any crystals. Okay, I think it's ready. Okay, now I'm going to add my phenolphthalein. I'm going to add 3 drops, and this will tell me when the acid is neutralized, and at that point the amount of acid is equal to the number of base. 1, 2, 3, and that'll help me figure out the concentration of my sodium hydroxide. Okay, and there it's all set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding the sodium hydroxide. 2. Again, I'm adding it, and as I add it, it's going to start to turn pink. Okay. I just kind of let a nice gentle flow because I can see it turning pink. But it's right where it hits, but it's going away. All I want to do is add it until it's pretty close to staying there. Okay, it's getting darker. It's getting close. All right. So it's turned pink. And I'm just gonna leave it, just let it spin for a little bit, because sometimes pink goes away, and then you have to add 1 or 2 more drops. Right now it's at 29.11. Okay, and we'll leave it there. Okay, so the amount is 29.11 for number 1. Okay, so I'm going to refill the barrette, and then do number 2. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take the stir bar out. One way to do it is just take another stir bar, and that should, usually it happens easier than that. Alright, I guess I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to dump it out and get it that way. Okay, so okay, stir bar isn't good. Alright, so this will be my waste container. And this will be, I'll put this side now. And what I want to do is I want to rinse my stir bar off because I'm going to use it again. Right, refill my rack. Okay. Okay, this time starting point is 0.15. Okay, let's make sure our acid, KHP, is stirred in. Okay, I think it's all set. I'm going to add 3 drops of 3. Okay. Hopefully see what I'm doing. Okay, so all right, so we're ready to go. Now it should take about 30 mils again. So and kind of let freely go. It's turning pink, which is good. Freely go to about 20-25. So this is number 2. Okay, ooh, it's almost there. A little bit more. And add a little bit more. As it started to go away. Alright, I'm going to say we're done, and this is 24.55. Okay, record that, and we'll go on to number 3. Okay. And again, rinse off the stir bar. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna let it stir while I fill up the burette. You want kind of a gentle spill. Let's spin maybe something like that. Okay, went a little bit over the 0 mark, so I want to get rid of some. Okay, that's a good starting point. Alright, starting point for this one will be a little bubble there. .20. Alright, so I'm going to add a 3 drop, 2, 3. And start adding the sodium hydroxide. Should be somewhere around 20, 25, and 25 or 29. Previous to it's turning pink. Okay, alright, so the reason why each one is going to have a different amount is because we have different amounts of our acid. Also, we start at a different point on the burette. So this one we start with at a lower point. And we're just going to let it spin a little bit longer. See if it stays that pink. Okay, I'd say it's good. All right, for the third one and final, 31.10. Okay, so so what we're going to do is we're going to take. I'll show you how to do the calculations, but it's going to be similar to what we did with the vinegar. What we're going to do is determine how many moles of base we added to neutralize the amount. We know the amount of moles of acid, and then the amount of mole. So whatever amount of moles of sodium hydroxide we added to it is the amount of moles neutralize it. So if we know these moles, we know these moles, and we know if we know moles, and then we also know liters because we know volume, we know molarity. Okay, so moles per liters molarity. So we're going to take the 3 samples, average them together to come up with our final molarity. Now to do the next step, we don't need to do those calculations yet. Okay, you can do them, and it's always kind of nice to do them. But we're going to go ahead and go with the next experiments, which will be determine the molecular mass of an acid and the pKa.